Hello, and welcome to English Cottage Catholic. May the peace of Christ be with you. Today I'm going to be sharing a bit about my love of floral illustration and the flowers of Burleigh ware. Now, straight into today's theme. So, is it just me, or do you also love floral illustrations? And perhaps also, like me, particularly appreciate those of around about the Victorian era. For me, these pictures are something I can spend ages poring over. They are so beautiful, detailed and evocative of those times. The pictures look lovely online, in books, as prints on the wall, and even in Victorian gardening catalogues. Victorian plant catalogues didn't contain the glossy photographs of today. Instead, each booklet was a treasure trove of floral art. The Victorian era, which was 1837 to 1901, was a time when botanical illustrations really flourished. Artists like Marianne North produced detailed and accurate illustrations of plants, contributing to the growing interest in botany in this period. Actually, Kew Gardens have a really amazing collection of 800 of her works. It's worth the visit to Kew just to see that, if you're able to get there, or else do take a look online at the Marianne North Gallery, website details below. So, William Morris is someone who's really well known. His designs are still very popular, and many homes, including my own, are adorned in one way or another with his patterns, be it curtains, wallpaper, cushions, tablecloths, wall art, soap dispensers, notebook covers, and more. The list goes on. I particularly like the Strawberry Thief design. A cheeky little song thrush who's stealing strawberries from the garden while my back is turned. Another type of floral art from the Victorian times is canal folk art, known as roses and castles. Roses and castles is a colourful canal folk art that was used to decorate working narrowboats in the 19th century. This is an art form I have loved since I was a young child, having spent a lot of time in and around canal boats and being completely enchanted with this unique, almost sort of fairy tale art form. So I never actually became a canal boat artist. But this is a book from the days when I was daydreaming about doing something like that when I grew up. And I won it as a school prize quite a long time ago now. It's called Paint Roses and Castles, Traditional Narrowboat Painting for Homes and Boats by Anne Young. These items are painted in the Roses and Castles style. So they're not actually from the Victorian era, but thank goodness people have handed on the tradition of painting in the Roses and Castles style so that we still have these items today. And I just love this so much. I'm really keen to have a few more of these decorated items around the house as they add such a bright, happy lift to any room they're in. I feel like canal art just lifts the clouds on any grey day. And I'm really glad to say that you can still see these brightly coloured traditional narrowboat decorations on and around the canals to this day. Although I don't live on a canal, I just appreciate the history and the tradition and the cheerfulness of Roses and Castles floral art. An artist world renowned for his paintings of plants is Pierre-Joseph Redoutey. Redoutey is the most celebrated flower painter probably of all time, nicknamed the Raphael of Flowers. He was born in 1759 and died in 1840, so he was just within the Victorian era, most of his work being completed just before the Victorian era. His illustrations are absolutely breathtaking. Such accuracy, such beauty and freshness. You feel that you could pick the flowers straight off the page and you can almost smell the exquisite perfume of the roses. This hydrangea is one of my favourites. Look at the astounding variation and harmony of colour within the flower head. No two petals are the same colour and yet they all blend together perfectly, just like the real thing. And, of course, we have the gorgeous flowers of Burleigh pottery. The flowers on Burleigh ware are, you might call, beautified or simplified versions of the flowers they represent, in order for them to fit in with the artistic vision of the designer, creating a pattern together with various embellishments that tie it all together. They aren't intended to be 100% accurate botanical illustrations, but the flowers of Burleigh ware are romantic, so elegant and appealing, timeless and iconic. I could go on. The Asiatic pheasant floral pattern, which is what my tea set is, has been much loved from the Victorian times onwards, and whilst some of the other flowers of Burleigh ware also have Victorian roots, excuse the pun, other of the Burleigh patterns date from the 20th century. For instance, Blue Regal Peacock was launched in 1913. Now, something that is coming back into fashion again, which was popular in the Victorian years, is the language of flowers. This is something I've been interested in for a while from the Catholic perspective. The language of flowers is, I would say, really a mixture of the history and symbolism of flowers and how people use them to communicate meaning or feelings or perhaps a special message. These things can be communicated through the choice of flowers that are given or worn or planted. In Victorian times, it became popular to attribute meanings to different flowers. And of course, for Catholics, flowers have had meanings and significance for the longest of times, way before the Victorian period. One small example is the early church fathers who saw the Blessed Virgin Mary prefigured in passages from the Old Testament, such as, "I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valley." That's Canticles 2:1. A book I'm currently absolutely absorbed in is called A Garden for Our Lady, Reviving the Ancient Traditions of Mary Gardens by Felicity Surridge and illustrated by Malcolm Surridge. It's published by Gracewing. I'll put the details in the description below. The book explains that before the mid-1500s, snapdragons were widely known as baby Jesus' shoes. So sweet. Bluebells were called Our Lady's thimble, and pansies had the name Trinity flower. There are numerous other such examples. Many plants had Marian names, and there was this Christian symbolism and spirituality connected to plants that disappeared from the 1530s onwards, along with all the monasteries and shrines. It's so great that there's currently a revival of interest in the symbolism and meaning of flowers. Thanks be to God, these ancient flower names are reappearing. They're popping up again in common knowledge, a bit like those flowers you sometimes see that manage to grow up amidst a brick wall or through a crack in a concrete path. Here is an Easter card from Aid to the Church in Need. The painting of a cross is decorated using the language of flowers. They call them the 7 Easter flowers. We have the iris, which symbolises the suffering in the Passion of Christ, faith, wisdom and hope. The tulip symbolises passion, belief and love. The Easter lily, which symbolises spiritual purity, innocence, redemption from sins and resurrection during the Easter season. Lily of the Valley is also called Mary's tears. Legend says these were the tears shed by Eve or the Virgin Mary during their moments of sorrow. The daffodil symbolises happiness of hope, new life. The gerbera daisy symbolises purity, happiness and contentment. And the crocus symbolises gladness, mirth and youth. Okay, so back to Burleigh. One of the reasons I'm particularly enchanted by Burleigh ware items and use them every day at home is because of their gorgeous floral illustrations. And sometimes I feel I get used to them and I sort of don't notice it anymore. But then if you see a direct comparison with, a different type of plate or different pottery, and you just see the difference between the detail and the intricacy of the pattern, it really brings home again and refreshes my appreciation of the Asiatic Pheasants pattern, just how detailed it is. Absolutely wonderful. I'm intrigued by the flowers of Burleigh ware. I would love to know what these flowers are. And interestingly, this isn't something you can find on the Burleigh website or in the Big Burleigh book, as far as I'm aware. So I've started my own research. Because I collect the Asiatic Pheasants pattern, this is the one I'm most keen to explore first. So this is something that's ongoing, and I'm hoping to share more of this with you in future videos as well. Now, I know Easter was back in April, and actually, as I'm recording this, tomorrow is the Feast of the Ascension. So we're coming to the end of the Easter tide right now, but I hope I can still share with you a really lovely discovery, a little Easter egg, you might say. So this is a Burleigh Blue Asiatic Pheasants 25cm or 10-inch plate. And as I mentioned earlier, the flowers on the Burleigh plate have been simplified so they fit perfectly with this beautiful, dreamy, floral vision which looks lovely, as you can see. Now, this is a passion flower, Passiflora. The passion flower was discovered in South America about 400 years or so ago. It received its name because of the appearance of different parts of the flower that bring to mind the Passion of Christ. For instance, on first glance, the stigma, this bit in the middle, looks like it's in the shape of a cross, which reminds us of Jesus' cross and his crucifixion. When I researched the passion flower, I discovered lots of Christian symbolism within the flower. The 5 stamen with anthers match the 5 sacred wounds, and the 3 stigma, the 3 nails of the crucifixion. And the outer fringe suggests Jesus' crown of thorns. I'm grateful to a website I came across dedicated to passion flowers. I'll put the details of this in the description below. Anyway, I was looking at the plate thinking, wow, surely then we have the Passion of Christ represented figuratively or florographically, you might say. And then I suddenly noticed something else that hadn't occurred to me before. It leapt out at me that the pheasant, with its really ethereal, dramatic, rising appearance, reminded me of the risen Christ. There's something really phoenix-like about the image. As you know, the phoenix is a mythological bird that in the stories, when it has died, it rises again from the ashes. Here's a traditional kind of phoenix image. If you look online and in books, this is the kind of image that appears. And for me personally, it's a sort of image that is conjured up in my mind when I think back to childhood stories involving a phoenix. And it certainly bears a striking resemblance to the Asiatic pheasant. So when I saw in my mind, the cross of Christ, the passion flower, a flower symbolizing the passion of Christ, and then above this glorious looking phoenix type of bird appearing to be almost rising again, reborn, flourishing, well, surely, amazingly, there is, you might say, a representation of the Paschal mystery on my dinner plate. Jesus' passion, death, resurrection and ascension. And why not? Victorian art was full of symbolism, as we know, and the language of flowers was used to convey meaning. We might never know the exact artist or artists who designed the pattern and what his or her innermost thoughts and inspirations were, or what instructions they received for the commission of this design. But the possibility of an Easter interpretation certainly made me feel so astonished and delighted. So I just had to share it with you, especially with it being the Easter season right now. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that all who believe in him may not perish, but may have eternal life. John 3:16. Thanks so much for watching. I think I'm going to take a stroll in the garden now and take a look at the real thing. The roses are in bloom and the pyracantha is an absolute mass of white flowers. The bees are loving it. Please do like the video and subscribe to the channel for more English Cottage Catholic videos. Thanks again and God bless you. Till next time, bye.